All right, so we posted the live door knocking deal, knocking pre-foreclosures. I'm gonna go break down exactly why I said what I said, how I ran the numbers, overcome objections, build rapport, everything from A to Z. I'll pause the video, walk you guys through it, show you how we can actually net $30,000 on this deal.
You wanna do this one?
Yeah.
Hello.
Hello. You got a dog he's about to take off.
Have a little visit.
Oh man. You guys all the security for you?
That's it.
Oh my goodness. Well, you must be the queen of the castle. Or is it him?
No, it's a she.
Oh, she's the queen of the castle then. Oh my goodness. Okay. Well, I'm not selling anything. I don't want to take up too much of your time.
The first 10 seconds is huge. This is where so many people realize I can't get them to open up, or they're saying they're not interested, or they just slam the door on me. Obviously that's going to happen. That's part of it. Don't think that that's not going to happen. There's people that you can't, do anything about. But with something like this lady had her guard up. You could tell by the way she was looking at me. Her dog was barking. It's loud. The way I answer with the energy, laughing, joking about the dog, you're immediately realizing you're a human being. It completely gets the guard down off the bat and allows you to, go into what you're trying to do.
You got your ID out for us?
Oh, I was waiting for someone else.
Oh, gotcha. Okay. Well, the reason we actually live pretty close by in the area, we get sent a lot of the notices regarding the county. I'm sure you had some people probably contact you about that. Have you been presented all the options? We're kind of supposed to basically walk people through all the options to get it stopped, and then we kind of see which one might be the best fit.
Coming from door to door, breaking preoccupation means just put yourself in the homeowner's shoes. They're doing something before they answer the door. You have to break that down, make them listen to you. Break whatever was happening before, put their attention on what you're doing. A lot of times that is just making a joke. I asked if she's the queen of the castle. We're talking about her dogs, and now we've gotten her to open up. We've showed her, why we're there, who are you, what are we doing. I'm Ben, this is Peter. We actually got some of the notices in the area, and now we're getting into this and figuring out what her situation actually is.
This is super off topic, but your eyes are so blue. Do you wear colored contacts?
No, I have contacts in.
Do you get that a lot?
My whole life.
The most blue eyes I've ever seen in my entire life. I'm jealous.
Be real whenever you're doing stuff like this. She actually had the bluest eyes I've ever seen. If you're not genuine, like I said, the homeowner's gonna feel it. So make sure that you're being real with whatever it is that you're talking about.
So yeah, we walk people all through all the options, kind of see what be the best fit. Have you guys been able to do anything yet to get it stopped?
Just now, I took off work today to kind of look into it and see what we can do.
Right. Okay. What do you do for work?
I'm a teacher.
No way.
Yeah,
okay.
so I'm broke.
Well, I appreciate all the work you do. What age?
5th grade.
Okay. They're probably grateful to have you. I'm sure they miss you today.
I want to make note of the things on the posture, how I knock the door. So whenever I knock a door, I'm going to stand at least 5-10 feet back. I'm going to turn sideways. I don't want to look threatening at all, right? If I'm facing a homeowner, shoulders squared, and I'm looking directly at them, it's a lot more threatening to stand in that position. I almost want to be leaned up against the brick. You can see I'm casual. I'm looking at my phone. You don't want to feel threatening at all. When you knock on the door and someone's right here and they're standing like this, you're gonna feel a lot more, uncomfortable. You don't know them yet, right? As you get closer and you start asking questions and you're engaging with, certain buying questions, right? Or in this case, selling questions, that's when you can start to get closer. You can get more, personal, show them things on your phone, look at a mortgage statement, whatever it is. Until you have that connection, there's no point in getting, up close and personal. Whenever you're communicating with someone, you want to make eye contact, break eye contact. You want to ask questions. Like as you start to do these things, you reconnect with people when you make eye contact. So I might be looking over here and then I talk about something and then I reconnect on eye contact. I make a compliment and then we laugh and then I break eye contact because I look at something. I don't want to constantly just be like, because if you're doing this, they get uncomfortable. Hey, like, can you grab a mortgage statement for me? Is now a good time to talk? Like they're just going to feel like they should say no because they're like, I don't, like this seems too uncomfortable, right? It's like whenever you want to grab something important, the mortgage statement or whatever, like I'm not staring at them asking for their permission. I'm like, cool, just grab that mortgage statement, or like where's a good place for us to sit down, and just assuming it rather than asking it directly and staring them in the eyes. It's going to be a lot more uncomfortable.
Do you know like about how far it is or how many months it's been?
It's been about 5 months.
Okay, because typically, as far as is the goal to like try and get something caught up or restructured to stay, or is it more looking at options to see what you can do to get cash out of it, or what is the goal?
I'm not real sure. maybe get cash out of it, but if I can catch it up. I have a daughter in 10th grade. We'd like to stay here until she graduates high school.
Right.
You know, just that stability. But so I do want to see what we can do
to see what you can do to make it, like, ideally stay if you can, catch it up, and then if not, maybe look at a backup plan.
Right.
Okay.
You really want to make sure you can figure out what their goal is, right? I don't want to just assume things right off the bat. Like, this lady told me a ton just by asking her, hey, what's been the plan so far to get it stopped? She told me she took off work to try and get this figured out. Then she told me that she was, 5 months behind on the payments. From there, I said, what's the goal, right? I don't want to make an assumption that she wants to stay if she wants to sell. I don't want to make an assumption that she wants to sell if she wants to stay in the house, right? So for her, I already saw, hey, maybe we want to get cash out of it. So she already is open to that idea, which a lot of people, really are adamant about staying. But she said, I'd like to stay for, my daughter and everything like that. So figuring out what the situation is, letting her talk. I realize she's there, to solve this problem. We got the goal, right? She wants to stay in the property, but she's also open to seeing what she can get to get cash out of it. Now it just comes into making sure we can get inside the home, figure out what we can do, right?
That's pretty much what we do. So we specialize in situations, especially like divorce, probate, foreclosures, any of those. The hardest part is usually people haven't gone through it, so they don't know all the options, but then they also don't know the nuances to make it happen in time, just because it's kind of a time crunch. So we basically present, okay, how much is it behind? Can you get approved for some sort of modification based on income? There's a lot of things that factor into it that people aren't aware of. So is that payment going to go up? Will it stay the same? Is there enough to get approved? And then what would it look like to maybe, get into a more affordable payment if you can get cash out of it, that kind of thing. So we just walk through all those. There's like 7 to 8 different options. Is it just you on the title, or is there other?
No, my husband, but see, he left this house.
Oh, okay.
Right before Christmas. So that's where my problems kind of started.
Gotcha. So it became one income instead of two? Okay. So he's not super affiliated now with the...
No, he's around, not hearing what happens here, but he is also, he's on the deeds. So.
Okay. And the mortgage, I would assume?
Yeah.
So his credit's being affected at least?
Probably.
Okay. It's both of you on the mortgage?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, so what we do, and has he said anything about it, or he just doesn't care?
Yeah, he just started saying something about it.
Okay, because you probably just noticed at least on the credit report. Okay.
I'm like, sorry.
Yeah, geez. Okay.
Sorry, what do you want me to do?
Yeah, that's not, man, that's usually how it happens too. It's the dueling.
Not a great situation, but
yeah.
If I can pull out of it somehow, I would like to.
Yeah, what we can do, I have an appointment in like an hour and a half. I can actually sit down and walk you through it, while we're here, just because we have some appointments later today.
Like your company?
Yeah, we're with, it's called Caruth Brothers. We're just a real estate solutions company. So we have underwriters and investors that can help buy it if that's the case, but sometimes people just need to look at the options to what they can do to stay. Okay. So that's all just a free resource just to help you walk through it. And then if that is a last needed resort, we at least show them what they can do to make that happen, because usually it's quick, right? It needs to happen fast. But as far as like approvals, underwriting, we just walk you through like the 7 or 8 options, and then at least have something in a plan in place, right?
This is helping qualify again. I want to figure out, are you the one on title, or is there anyone else that needs to deal with this? Which is kind of another thing, on this one, is getting the husband that left on the same page. Also confirming credibility. She says, hey, I want to look at these options. Okay, cool. We help people in all these different situations. We do this all the time. It's re-emphasizing the credibility so that whenever you get to that part at the end, there's not a question of like, are you an expert on this? Like, you can clearly see that we've done this over and over and over again. Always planting seeds of credibility throughout. Like, yeah, we do this all the time. We'll walk you through all this, and also not trying to act like you can't buy houses, right? You want to make sure whenever you're talking to a foreclosure that they understand, hey, I'll give you a free resource to walk you through your options on what you can do to stay. But also, by the way, like, we can buy houses. We're going to show you if this is feasible. Cool. If not, here's a backup plan, to at least get into a better payment, get some cash out of the property. And that way they know, like, hey, if none of these are feasible, this is what's going to happen. So just planting those seeds beforehand.
So what I can do, I can grab a piece of paper too. Do you have like a recent, who the mortgage company is?
Yeah, M&T Bank.
M&T, okay. What does that stand for again? I think I've heard. They probably sold it from when you first got it, or has it always been them?
I think it's still M&T.
Okay, how long have you been in the house?
We've been in the house like 10 years.
10 years, okay. It's been the same mortgage company the whole time?
Yeah.
Really? Okay. What I can do is I can grab my iPad and then just kind of walk you through that and just write it down. And then if you have, do you know if you have a mortgage statement laying around?
I probably do.
Okay.
Some last things right there again is just qualifying it. How long have you been in the house? Okay, they have equity. What mortgage company they use? I've already asked how far behind on their payments. I'm telling her I'm trying to get in, and walk her through her options. We're already busy. We have appointments later, which again, we did knock some doors and I think we did have an appointment in a couple hours, but whether I do or don't, like I want to show that I'm busy. I can't just, come back at any time, right? We're here right now. Let's walk through this. And again, just asking a few more qualifying questions to get in the door.
What I can do, let me just grab my iPad, and then if you can find a mortgage statement, I can just sit down with you, kind of walk you through the options. He might have to run. I'm trying to think. Do you have any appointments to run to in the next hour and a half?
Well, I'm gonna have to leave pretty soon. I've got to run a couple errands and then get my daughter from school.
Okay. What time should she get out?
But I'm supposed to pick her up at 2 because she has a dental appointment.
I was gonna say she's getting off at 2. You're doing
because of the dental.
What is it? I'm blanking on the word when you get kicked out or you miss the day of school.
Yeah, anytime after 10 a.m. you're not counted out.
What is the word for that when you're like, I'm just gonna skip, like skip it? Yeah, like kind of like the Ferris Bueller's Day Off.
I was thinking,
yeah. You probably have students like that. You're like, where are you? While we're out here, at least walk you through it, and then if we need to get out of your hair, if it's going late, just leave to go pick up your daughter. I'll grab my iPad, see if you can grab a mortgage statement, and then as long as the dog won't eat me, I'll just take off. Well, let me grab my iPad real quick, and then if you can find the mortgage statement, the dog's awesome. I'll pet the dog.
Like you, as long as I'm calm and you're calm and
my job title is professional assistant dog hanger outer. So when he talks to you, I just hang out with the dog.
He can
pretty much.
Exactly. Do you want my shoes on or off? Okay. Do you have one of our iPads in the car?
You can take my folder if you'd like.
Okay. Do you have it in here?
I've got.
I guess we can just do it on a piece of paper. I'll just do it right here. I don't need the iPad. Do you want me to take the shoes off, you said?
Yeah.
Okay. I'll make sure. Keep them on? Okay. Hey, buddy.
Hey, puppy dog.
I usually have an iPad with me that has contracts, but Peter had the contracts in his deal. Qualifying the lead to get inside the house. Like a lot of people think this is crazy. On the door, you're a pest. In the house, you're a guest. Everyone always says that in door to door. It's true. Like we've built the rapport, we've earned the trust. We told her who we're company with. We showed them what we're doing. She has like an hour and a half until she needs to pick up her daughter from school. So I know the timeline that I need to present this and kind of like get through this process. I asked if you have a mortgage statement laying around, and then I can just walk you through it on a piece of paper and show you these options. So ideally, I want her to go grab a mortgage statement, and then the easiest way to get inside is like, perfect, I'll just sit down with you and walk this out so I can write it on a piece of paper. Do you want my shoes on or off? You've already told them we need to sit down and look at these options. She's needing to grab a mortgage statement. We're not just coming to stand on the porch, right? There's not a lot that's gonna get done when you're standing on a porch. If you're inside the house, you're sitting at a kitchen table, you're looking at those documents and you're asking to take your shoes off, they just say, oh no, it's fine, you can leave your shoes on, or yeah, if you can, just take them off, and now you're coming inside, right? It's just an assumption thing. It's super comfortable and confident, and if you can do that, you'll get inside the house and actually be able to present the options. Yeah, I'd say when you're on the door and you're trying to get inside the house, you're kind of like cognizant of people's time, right? You're like, hey, like I'm not here to sell anything. We need to make sure we can, even help you out. I have an appointment here. And like, let's just see if we can help her out. So it feels a little quicker until you can get them talking, right, and open up. And I really want to assume my way inside the house. When you are inside the home, I always talk slow when we're going over these, important things on like the asking questions, understanding the situation, like what it is that might need to happen. And then whenever you're like, hey, you're pointing towards an action step is usually when you speed up the tone and you kind of like have that down inflection, which you can kind of see later.
So the payment's about $2,000 a month?
Right before he left, we did refinance, and
before he left?
Yeah, so
do you remember?
It was supposed to start at 11:45, beginning the first day of November.
Of this year? Oh, that was last year.
Mm-hmm. So I don't know why the
principal
statements are still saying higher.
Well, that's just principal and interest, it looks like.
Oh, okay.
So then taxes and insurance is added on top of that.
Okay, so
let's see. Do you know if the payment's gone up though since?
I don't think so.
So you refinanced last year?
Yeah.
And then do you think it's just been the new payments that haven't been made then?
Right.
Oh, okay.
How does that change things?
I'm just trying to think. Do you remember what the balance is from whenever
right
you
2.
on the refinance?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm trying to see, it should show here.
Right around 2.
Or maybe on here it does.
Maybe it's like 208 or 2, right in that ballpark.
It was just like a cash out refinance?
Yes.
Okay. Oh yeah, it says right here. 222, consisting of unpaid balance to lender, 5.5% rate, and then 1145. Okay. You said you've owned it for 10 years?
Yes.
So basically right here, I'm trying to figure out what the actual details of the situation is. I'm qualifying the lead, but also just trying to figure out what her options are. So like, I need to know what is the payment she's making every month. She says she refinanced. We'll get into this in a second. She basically did a previous loan modification. She was calling that a refinance. And I need to see what the principal balance is. What is she behind? This is ultimately going to tell me like, what does she owe on the property? Like, what is even possible if she needs to sell the house? How much has to be covered? What is her monthly payment? Can she afford that payment? I'm getting all these details by looking at her mortgage statement and really trying to figure out what the situation is, because she did a modification previously. So it's a little bit nuanced figuring out, okay, she was back on payments previously and now they tried to modify the loan, but she hasn't paid that, so she's back in foreclosure situation. Sometimes people have been going through this for a little bit, so I have to figure out based on their mortgage statement, what does this actually look like?
So payment will be $1,145. Let's see what the taxes roughly are. Okay. So total payment's probably what it is right there. Monthly escrow, wow, it's so crazy. Taxes and insurance just keep going up and up. So monthly escrow is showing $950. So that's what it's adding to it. That's why it's about $2,000. Isn't that crazy?
Yes.
Because it used to be, your taxes probably were, you can kind of fight it with being a homestead and stuff, but, and you said your VA was Okay.
He's a fully retired veteran of 21 years.
Yeah, she should be able to get, that should be half of that, because you can get taxes for being homestead and veteran. You should be able to get that off. But do you know if it was a VA loan or no, whenever you bought it?
Yes, it was.
Okay. I guess it will say right here, it says, I wonder if the refinance was through, oh, this is a loan modification agreement. You modified the loan, that's what it is. So it was not necessarily, it was from probably the back payments, and then they put it on the back, and then they restructured the payment. Okay,
I think
that's what it was. So it might have been payments in 2024 that were behind, and what they did is you put the lump sum, they put it on the back, and then they restructure it. Interest rate probably went up a little bit.
And here, I guess, now that I just opened it, is a foreclosure. So is there still time to do something?
There is, it's just, and I can write this down for you, and we can kind of get you a process started. It's just more getting the timing set up so that we can make sure that they don't take it. We just don't want to make sure, basically all they want is their money, right? So it's getting any delinquent, they substitute a trustee to do the foreclosure.
Okay.
So like the moment that they gave that notice, they substituted a new lawyer to basically start a foreclosure process. So they set that date for July, the first Tuesday. It's the first Tuesday of the month.
Okay.
And that's kind of like, if nothing happens before that, the payments aren't caught up. I would say if a loan modification is not approved, the only issue right here that I'm seeing is you just got the loan modification from December. So the chances of that being able to get approved, especially with lack of income, is going to be really hard. Like if you hadn't done this prior.
Yeah, realizing right there again that it was a loan modification agreement. She had the documents from that, and she hadn't made payments since modifying the loan. So the payment was probably a little bit higher. And then she saw the foreclosure notice. She basically was asking us, is there still time to do something? So it's really just being able to walk her through, understand the urgency, like there is a tight timeline on this, but here's what we can do to to get it stopped.
Right.
Then maybe they'd be like, hey, we could get a loan mod, but that's basically what it looks like you guys did in November of last year, and then those new payments haven't been paid. So it's kind of like almost like a test period. Like they'll give you, hey, we'll put this on the back.
And I understand that.
Yeah. So then we can walk through, the other thing would be like bankruptcy, but that's obviously not great on the record. And what that does is, a lot of people are like, oh, I'll file bankruptcy and everything's good, right? So it wipes out like credit card debt and some of the unsecured debt, but any mortgage debt isn't, it's a secured loan, right? So it doesn't wipe it out. All it does is now puts the back payments again on there with more attorney fees.
Right.
And then your payment.
I thought it wiped it out.
Yeah. Some people, unfortunately, are like, because a bankruptcy attorney wants to tell them like, hey, just file bankruptcy, and then they're getting paid.
Yeah, your home is still.
Exactly. So what it does is like, it makes for a super expensive rent almost. It's like you're now paying $2,000 a month plus the back payments plus the attorney fees, and they make this long payment plan to try and catch it up. But it just kind of eats into more of the equity that was even there.
This is really when I want to start walking them through the options, right? We've already qualified it. We figure out what the monthly payment is. I know what the payoff is. It was around like $208, she said, for the principal, but then she's back payment, so it's probably like $222 to pay off the entire loan. Typically, the first option to walk them through is catching up their payments. We already kind of disclosed this, that she didn't have the money saved to catch up it. I still want to walk a homeowner through the option of reinstating the mortgage. That just means paying the back payments. So do you have 401k savings, anything like that? Which is kind of quickly disqualified. Loan modification, that's restructuring the payment. She already just did this and hadn't made payments from the last loan modification. She was saying that she can't afford that payment. So I was kind of disqualifying that. Also, I don't tell them, obviously we don't work with the bank, but typically if, they just did a loan modification and they hadn't made payments to it, it's going to be hard to do another one because they're sitting on an application they just did, or a modification they just did that they didn't pay. So that was, option number 2. Then I started going into option number 3, which is bankruptcy. And a lot of people are, don't understand exactly how that process works. There is a couple different filings of bankruptcy. It it typically creates this long payment plan, obviously adds attorney fees, any other debt that they have, and that mortgage now, on top of the repayment plan and fees is going to be quite a bit higher than just paying their mortgage. So it's just really figuring out if they can afford to make that payment, and if they don't want to have a bankruptcy on their credit.
So it's going to be like probably 11 to 12 because they're going to add attorney fees on top, which is usually like 2 to 3 grand. So let's roughly call it like 13,000. Do you guys have any sort of 401k or savings or anything like that? As far as income, because he's not helping with the loan anymore, right?
He hasn't been, no.
Okay. Is he working or no?
Yeah, he's working,
Okay.
and he has a military retirement and a second job.
Okay. And you don't get monthly from the military?
I do not.
Okay. For them to get approved of another modification, they're usually going to want to see at least 3 times that in income, which again may not get approved just because this was set in November, right?
Right.
Okay. At a 5.5, yeah.
I thought about also calling the VA, because sometimes they have, they started a new program this last year for hardships for veterans.
Yeah.
I was going to explore just to see if there was something there.
Yeah.
I
Sometimes
forgot what
they're...
it's called, but they do have a certain program.
We actually do one of those grants with affordable housing type, but what it is, it's a little different with foreclosure. Like a lot of people, at least that we've worked with that are veterans, it's very hard for them because again, it comes out of the bank, right? So it's like they don't have, there used to be it's called what was it called? Texas Homeowners Assistance Fund, where basically there was like government grants to help catch up payments.
Right.
And then it would kind of wipe it away if people got approved. The only way they get approved is if they didn't have any income pretty much. With the VA, usually those affordable housing are like getting qualified for rent, right? So it's like kind of like almost what housing authority, right?
But they had some new deal. It was, and I read about it and I kind of put it in the back of my mind.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe worth a phone call too. I know what we use, what I was saying is like, let's say we have a rental property and there's a veteran, a grant where it basically pays their rent for them. So essentially it's not necessarily a home ownership type thing. What it is like, hey, here's a qualified rent. They pay the rent to the landlord directly, and then the veterans have essentially like a free rent. But that's, again, reinstatement looks like probably not the best option for that.
So again, we brought up the option of catching up the payments. She said she doesn't have 401k or savings. I was trying to qualify the income, right? Just see if it's something she can actually afford. She had a husband that sounds like he might be able to, but he's not paying the mortgage anymore. Her income wouldn't be enough to qualify for, or to make that monthly payment herself. So really just figuring out these situations and making sure they understand in their head, is this something that I can afford? Is this something I'll even get qualified for if I do try and do this?
Loan mod, which is a loan modification. This happened in November, it was, right?
Now, if we sold the house like in June, we could just sell it and get out.
Yeah, and I'll kind of walk you through that because like this, I'll show you how that looks. So loan mod likely not going to get approved. If they want that, they're going to want to see like at least 3 times this. So probably $6,000 a month for income. I don't know, what is the total income for you every month?
For me, myself, I'm about half that.
So she's already brought up again, if we need to sell the house, we need to sell it in June, right? So she's really thinking about the ticking, the time clock that she's on, which again, not a lot of people are usually open to. We don't want to discount the fact, right? I get into that a little bit quicker than a lot of other homeowners because she was so open to the fact of selling. A lot of times they're adamant about trying to catch up the payment or restructure it or file bankruptcy.
Okay. Do you remember how much it was that they put on the back last time?
I don't remember.
Like 6 months of payments probably? Or was it more?
I honestly don't remember.
Okay. So that's probably the hardest thing in getting approved is just because they just did a modification. So they're just going to look back at it and say, okay, we haven't got payments in the last 6 months. 3, we talked about bankruptcy. This is basically just super high rent, attorney fees, obviously not great on the credit. 4 would be essentially listing it, right? But there's not necessarily enough time for that. That would be like getting it fixed up, doing, updating the property, putting any work you need to. Right. And then 5 would be essentially as is sale, cash. And this would be as is taking over payments. So this just means like, depending on the equity situation, if there is too many liens, right? Sometimes this is the best option where someone can actually just take over the mortgage that they have. But it depends how much liens are on the property, right? Like hopefully there's enough to where, based off of the looks of this, 222 there's enough, right? You're going to be able to get cash out of it. But the difference is if there's...
Yeah, because this property's gone up.
Yeah. The difference...
property's probably worth, I don't know.
Yeah, it's only been, it was built probably early 2000s?
2006, and we're the second owners.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
So again, this is qualifying. A lot of times people get something under contract or they don't understand what the payoff is on the loan. So all I'm trying to do is really figure out if, after her back payments from last year, her current back payments and the mortgage, like what is the total payoff to pay off the entire loan? And eventually we came to the conclusion, I think it was around 230. I say it here in a little bit, but she was behind on payments previously, and when they modify it, they put it on the back of the loan. So this amount's sitting here, right? So even though her principal balance says 208,000, we already put an amount on the back. That's why I was trying to figure out how many months it was. So that might make it, 220 something. Now, if you're another 12 grand behind, you're sitting at like 232 on a total payoff. So this is where I'm mentally trying to get this figured out so I can see what cash price we can actually get that's going to put money in your pocket and that still makes sense. The other reason I walk through this option is I always talk about you could list the property right, but there's not enough time. You have to fix it all up. Retail buyer needs to get financing, explaining that, this is going to be very difficult to find a retail buyer and put this on the market with a realtor, and you're just going to need a cash buyer anyways. So why pay the realtor fees if you're going to, try and find a buyer?
The only thing here with this 222, this isn't going to necessarily be the total payoff. They're going to have that plus probably the 12,000 that's behind. And then the only thing I'm worried about is dependent on how big the loan was from last time that you modified. Probably about this, but essentially what this would be is just as is. It could be done we could do it in 2 weeks, right, with our team. It's just they're going to factor in what are the updates that have to be done. Buying it cash obviously comes at more of a discount than if you can find a retail buyer. Sure. So it's more just being able to purchase it quickly and factoring in nothing they have to do to it, right? So you're not going to have to update the floors, paint anything, redo the roof, anything like that.
I was going to redo the floors in there.
And what's the color? Is it different?
The garage.
No way.
But the guy who installed them, he
Holy cow.
died.
Was it from a guy that originated the room a while ago and then he died recently, or did he die in the middle of it?
Yeah, he never got to finish the baseboards in that front room. Like an offer on this house, how would that work?
Yeah.
Now I was trying to figure out a little bit about the house. Has she done anything to it? What is the condition? She talks about the floors. The house is in pretty good shape. A little bit outdated in some fashions, and then she just said, she asked me the question, which is crazy. We're kind of getting there, and which is nice. She's bringing this up, right? We're not having to force this conversation. We're kind of walking her through those options. So now she's curious, what does a cash offer look like? And now we can walk her through that process.
I can walk you through that right now. So the biggest thing, what we do, based on square footage, repairs, pretty much anytime there's a cash offer, any investor, how it works with our underwriters, and they've been doing this forever, is a percentage of what it would be in perfect shape. And then we're going to factor in any repairs, closing costs, commission. So pretty much what happens is for us to either hold it as a rental property, resell it, we're going to have commissions to both realtors, closing costs we pay. There's usually holding costs for, utilities, insurance, taxes, all those things while we're getting it fixed up and repaired. And really not even necessarily repaired, it's just updated, right? Things up to current shape. And then typically, so that makes it a percentage of the retail number, right? So kind of like what you're saying, let's say the retail number for this house, and I just shot it over to our investors on our team for our underwriters.
She wants to see what she can get for a cash offer. I'm only looking on my phone. I can't run all the comps for this house. I'm looking at Zillow and Deal Machine and different things that pull up and say it might be worth anywhere from 320 to 340. Obviously, I'd rather underestimate than overestimate, especially when I can't see what the recent sales are in Texas. I usually do that on the MLS. She says it was around 310, 320, so we kind of went with that number, and that's where we're calculating our cash offer from here.
About that 300 you were saying to 320, right? So let's just call it 310, and then they usually are about 75% of that minus any repair costs for a cash number. And so how that looks is they usually want to factor in, so 10% goes to closing costs, commissions, cost of capital, insurance, taxes, all that, and then they try and have at least a 5% margin based on the repairs, right? Just in case the market shifts or anything like that. So what you're looking at typically, so 310 times 0.75. You're a math teacher. What do you teach?
History.
History.
Studies, yeah. Science.
Not math.
Not math.
You get away from that?
Math.
It would be around kind of what the payoff might be, just for a cash sale based off this. The thing is, if all those major items are good, that's the biggest thing, right? If it's cosmetic, we can kind of get a little bit creative to make sure we can do something.
So when I'm running through this calculation too, for people that haven't done this, typically I know I kind of underestimated on the ARV, right? The after repair value, because as I'm doing this, again, I don't have all the comps in front of me. I'm kind of getting texts from our team. Some people are saying higher number. So I'm underestimating on that. And then I said 75%. And typically I'm going to go 70% minus the repair costs. This house was in good condition. There's minor updates that need to be done. time. Nothing major was wrong with the roof, the foundation, any of that. We have buyers, at least in our network, that I know will buy it at like 85% just to hold on to a rental property given the age of the house. But typically you want to be at least 70% of that minus repairs, or you can use the offer calculator that we have, and you can find that in our community or linked in the description. Typically, if this house was in worse shape, it needed a ton of repairs, I'm going to say 70% or even 65% minus repairs. The thing is, this house doesn't need a lot of work, right? Not a ton of things that have to be done to it. We can still walk her through this cash option, and I know I'm baking in these kind of things into my calculation that maybe wouldn't be if it was a house that needed 80 grand in repairs, right? I'd be having a little bit different of a conversation showing we got to buy it at 60-65% of the ARV minus the repairs. And ARV just means after repair value. It's the value of the house in perfect shape, what we were just talking about right here. The biggest thing would be figuring out is, can we get it done cash, or would we just catch up the back payments and then take over the payments moving forward? What I would want to figure out though is two things. Like, one, what do you think you need to help get moved? Because I want to make sure we can help you, get at least into another place, right? How much time would you need? And then what do you think as far as, is his name Darren? What's his name? What do you think his situation is? He kind of like, hey, you're handling it,
gonna go
and
with whatever.
Okay, like you're basically wearing the pants.
I'm the only one here.
And he kind of just, yeah. Okay, so whatever he, you say kind of goes. Okay, so I guess in your case, because what we do as a part of that process with any of these offers is we get it, make sure it's done before the foreclosure. The biggest urgency was the title work. So I don't know if you remember, because it's probably been 10 years since you bought this house. When you get it under agreement to purchase versus when you close, was probably like 30 days, I would assume.
Okay.
And so that's kind of the same thing, is they got to open up title work. They're gonna have to pull up all these old documents, see what the title says. So is there any back liens on the house? Is there any taxes that are due? Is there an HOA here?
There is.
Okay. Do you know if those have been paid?
I'm behind on those, but I was going to try to catch those up. So,
And this is one of the things too, is like,
the other liens on the house.
okay, no solar or water softener systems, anything like that?
No.
HVAC payments that?
No.
Okay.
Nothing.
Qualifying it again, things that people don't ask, like, hey, do you have an HOA payment? She said, yeah, I'm behind on that. So it's another thing people don't often think about. Is there solar? I didn't notice on the roof. Is there a water softener system, an HVAC lien? All these things that people finance and they need to be paid off at closing. I want to make sure there's nothing else that could be adding to the payoff, right? The HOA was like $1,000 or $2,000, pretty small, but it's good to figure out, is there any other liens that you don't know about? And you can't tell them like, hey, this is what your total payoff is. And then you realize there's a $15,000, HVAC payment. Yeah, so that's the other thing too, is if you just do the as is sale, it all gets paid off at closing, right? So you're not going to have to necessarily like, hey, I got to catch up this HOA payment or do all this work.
Good to know.
And so basically we would be able to, they'd have to figure all that out at title, right? So that's part of the process of making sure it gets started soon, is that sometimes like people will reach out to us 2 weeks before the auction, even 3 weeks sometimes, and they can't even close before the foreclosure because title work hasn't been completed. They haven't ordered from M&T Bank, because anytime you work with a bank, they're gonna be like, yeah, we'll get that in 7 to 15 days.
Never know.
Right. So basically getting the title.
See what the offer would be in the house,
And I can actually get you that right now. I just texted it to him. So what it would look like is, let's see, I should have it back here in like a second, but I'm just doing a calculation in case we have to go this route. Do you have a login, do you think, for M&T that you've been logged into recently? Do you think you can try and pull that up?
Possibly. What are you needing?
So it'll show what because this is nice. This is good. It might show what the amount is that you put on the back of the loan from last time when you did that loan mod.
Okay.
So if you log into it, it'll be a lot easier to make sure these numbers are accurate. It's probably either in your email, you could press M&T, or if you just go to their mntbank.com, it might have your little face,
Little thingy.
saved in there, your login password. Do you have a
Was there something in your brain where you still need more information for you to say that I need to log in?
So again, qualifying this lead, like I'm calculating a cash offer that's coming in roughly around her payoff. I still didn't know exactly what the full payoff is, because all I see is a mortgage statement that showed a principal balance and then her current back payments. I don't know how far she was behind last year when she did a loan modification. I want to see what that says. So the mortgage statement I was looking at didn't say all that. I wanted her to log in so I could figure out and actually do the math. And that's whenever I got down to the bottom line and figured out like, okay, you owe $230, whatever it was. But if she can log in and qualify that now, I don't want to give her a cash number that's like putting a X amount of money in her pocket, but then she figures out it's like, well, I actually owe, $8,000 more. Like, shoot, this is going to be tight, right? I don't want to figure this out now so that we can just solve the problem. She understands. There's no questions or concerns she has later. Like, well, what if I owe more? Now, let's just look at it now. A water bottle by chance I could snag?
Water, yeah.
What they did was this $33,000 that was behind, they put it on the back of the loan, and then now, essentially, your balance is $222.
Right.
And then since December, there hasn't been payment. So it's going to be like the payoff amount will be 222 plus 12 roughly. So 222 plus 12, 234. And then you said the HOA, do you know how much they charge monthly?
That's like 70.
Okay. And it probably has been like a year or two, so maybe less than $1,000 on that.
So right there, I just did the 222. I figured out what her back payments were on last year and this year, and so it's 234 plus the HOA. So essentially, I've now qualified everything. Like, all right, here's the full back payments. We're at 234 plus the HOA, so whatever it was, 235, 236. And now she knows, I know, this is exactly what's needed to pay off the loan. So here's where the cash offer is going to come into place. Figuring out what she can actually net. How can we help her relocate? Do all that.
So there would be two things that could happen. Kind of see which one might be the best option for you. The cash offer right here is going to be the 242.5, and so that's just as is cash. How that works, same thing. It would be done in 3 to 4 weeks. We would just want to make sure to get the title work set. So what that would do is it allow you to at least have a little bit of a lease back too, if you want to help help you get relocated into another place. For this, if we were to take over the payments, we would have to catch up the 12 or so that's behind. It's typically better for staying in it a little longer. It's just a little bit harder to get as much capital out of it. So I guess that's where I kind of want to figure out, because this one can get a little bit creative, just because once we take over the payments, we're not having to bring all of that yet, right? We're going to catch up what's behind, and then we can get some cash to you. And then basically we just take over the payments moving forward. So we end up either renting it out. We don't really our team doesn't make a ton of money on it. They just hold it as a rental property, and they kind of down the line end up fixing it up or selling.
So again, this is a little bit more further qualification as I get it closed, right? So I know now her payoff was like 230. I calculated my cash number. My first offer would be around that, but obviously we want to try and get it, some cash in her pocket. So I'm figuring out, can I do a cash, or should I just catch up her payments and buy it subject to? That's what I mean when I'm taking over the payments. And really I'm trying to figure out, like, how much money do you need to relocate? What is the situation? Is it only you that's going to deal with this? Obviously we have this spouse that's on the deed. Like, is he just going with whatever you say, or is this something that we got to call him and get him back on board? So she claims that he's just going to do whatever she says, and then now I'm trying to figure out what her situation is. How can we put some money in her pocket, help her relocate? What is the living situation going to look like? And really qualifying the urgency. I talked about that right here. Hey, you don't maybe remember this from 10 years ago, but like when you started an agreement to purchase the house, you don't close on it till typically 30 days later, especially when people are getting financed. With this though, with a foreclosure, we can move quick, but we still got to get back payments from the mortgage company. We got to get the husband on board. We got to order the payoff document. So there's things that have to happen to make sure we can start the process now, if we're going to be able to close before the foreclosure.
But I guess in your situation here, how much money do you think would be the best option, or like how much do you think you need to get relocated? How much time do you think to get into another place?
I mean, that can be handled pretty quickly, but I would need help moving, obviously.
Yeah. You got what, 10 years of stuff in here?
No, I mean, I don't have a lot of junk and stuff, but I got bedroom furniture and stuff.
Right. You said only one child? It's a 3-bedroom house, right?
3 bedrooms and an office.
Okay. Yeah. So I mean, we have a full moving crew, so they just come in. We have a U-Haul. Basically, none of this you have to do yourself. Obviously, little things like your pictures and your whatever else, but they handle that moving for you. It takes like a day. You just come and knock it all out. So that's part of that service. You said as far as finding a new place, would you have family or friends, or would you just get into a rental, or what would be the goal?
I think probably maybe an apartment.
Okay. And you'd want to just be as long as you're in the same zip code for your daughter's school?
Right.
Okay. You said she's in high school here. So that as far as getting relocated wouldn't be too much of a concern. As far as cash in your pocket, this would be essentially like around 10,000, and then it would be covering all the closing costs. There obviously wouldn't be any repairs or anything you'd have to do to it. The only other way to get more would basically be trying to get them to postpone and potentially bring it to retail. I just don't know if that's going to get approved. So I'd want to make sure we can get this done. Like it'd have to be catching up. So essentially it wouldn't be postponing. We'd have to catch up the payments, right? We would be renting it out or reselling.
Right here, I'm walking her through in her head, like what needs to happen in order to move, how much money do we need, what is the situation, so I can really gauge like what her expectations are. She knows she can move into an apartment. She's starting to picture this. How much money do we actually need, which we haven't gotten to quite yet. Our moving crew, I always tell people we can help them relocate. We have people that we work with where I just get them an entire moving truck over there. A lot of times they've been here forever. effort, and that's their biggest thing is like, I need help moving, where am I gonna go, right? If we can solve that problem, we can help you relocate and get cash in your pocket. Now they're not, you're taking that stress off their shoulders, and you're also giving them a lot more service and value because you can handle that for them. That's what I'm trying to figure out. She's saying she can move into a rental property or a apartment. Now it's gonna figure out, okay, what's the numbers? And there was a lot more, details here at the end that we kind of cut. Again, we're just trying to make sure we get to the points that you guys can see and not spend, a bunch of useless hours. Almost all of the language again is to help picture in their mind, like this is exactly what has to be done, the title work that has to be done, help you relocate. You're showing them all the things in the head that's going to be happening, assuming they're working with you. You're just making an assumption the whole time, like, hey, this is what we're gonna do. Here's exactly how the process is gonna work. And so you're not, saying this is what happens if you work with us. It's just like, this is what's gonna happen. Like, here it is, and they're picturing it there. So I'm about to walk through the contract. So basically what happened here that we kind of cut out was got her the cash number from our underwriters, right? So it was a 240.25. I gave her an exact number, right? I don't want to give her a round number. I want to show that this was actually calculated and formulated. It was about $10,000 that she was going to net. At the end of the day, I think she needed a little bit more to help relocate. So we ended up coming up a little bit on that price, up to like a 250. But I have the contract out. This is when we're starting to walk her through it. We know the urgency with the title company. So I'm basically just showing her, hey, this was gonna have to be done. I know she's about to have to go pick up her kids, right? I go through all this. I need to get this done now and really get a pen to a paper. So this is kind of where we're walking her through that.
So basically what this is, it just shows everything that we need to get started with title. There's also a payoff form that they're gonna have to get from, what is it, M&T Bank?
And then at first I walk them through the third-party authorization. So this is allowing us to get the payoff information. So I like to get that first. Hey, this is going to allow us to get the title company and our transaction coordinator to order a payoff from your lender and be able to essentially work with the title company so that we can get all these documents. I start with that, and then I go into the purchase contract.
So it would just show the LLC with Caruth Brothers. So basically it just means we're going to help you get relocated. If we want to do a lease back, we can set up like a 2-week lease back. Okay. All that would do is once you close, we can use that time to help you relocate. Or if you found a place before, we'll just get you moved before, right? So like the week prior, we'll get the all set up and all that. Title, we use Independence Title in Dallas. So that you're saying it's going to be an insured transaction. They move it over to the buyer. And then this is just saying we're buying the house as is. I didn't agree to like do your dishes or mop the floor or anything else like that.
Kind of zoom through this as we got to the end, but pressing the urgency with the title company, these documents are going to have to be done in time if we can close before the foreclosure. So prepping that urgency beforehand is always key. Like, we've built the credibility. We're always planting seeds of credibility and urgency with, hey, a lot of people, I mentioned it earlier, don't get this done in time. They reach out to us 2 or 3 weeks before the foreclosure, and then we can't get it closed in time, right? Typically a cash sale, you can get it done in as soon as maybe 10 days, 7 days even, but a lot of times with foreclosures, they got to wait for the bank to get the payoff statement. We got to wait for things that we can't control. And then all of a sudden you're sitting at a time crunch the day before the foreclosure. And if you don't have that done, you're freaking out to try and get them to do something or file bankruptcy to or to stop a foreclosure, which, you don't want them to have to do that. Obviously you shouldn't even be, telling someone to do that. But now we're going through the contract. I show her we're buying it as is. She knows the number, she's getting it. We can show that it's closing before the foreclosure. We assume that. I just show her the important parts right there. The price, our LLC, property address, we're purchasing as is, here's the close date, and we just need some initials here and here, and we're gonna be able to get this process started for you.
We'll come back and mop the floor if you want. No. And then you just initial right there. We do like a little, who was the last person we did like mow their lawn because hadn't mowed it in forever?
My yard mowed.
Hope I didn't make your daughter late, I'm sorry.
All right.
Hey,
Bye-bye, Willa.
have a good one.
All right.
Have a good one. Drive safe.
Well, a couple of things I also want to point out that we may have not seen, right? Like, someone messaged me on Instagram, like, that was it. Like, that's that easy. The editor really chopped this up because there was a lot of still rapport building, other things that are happening in the middle. This was about an hour close that we chopped up into like 25 minutes. It doesn't happen this fast, right? We're not always going directly into everything. We're still building rapport. We're asking questions. There's a lot of filler stuff that we cut out. We're sitting there talking about family or the situation. That is just a thing to make note. This doesn't happen in 15 minutes. A lot of times this is an hour, sometimes 2 hours, right? I knew I had a little bit of a time crunch given, having to pick up kids from school. A lot of things that people don't realize in the house while I'm qualifying this, how did I figure out what the balance was as we just broke that down, like, here's what she actually owes. I'm texting my team, I'm figuring out the value of the house. I'm kind of gauging the inside of the property, seeing there's not much in repairs, right? I'm calculating an average repair cost. So to me, I was immediately looking at like, okay, I need to be like, basically with my team and my text message, I'm like, I need to be at like 260 or less. and we ended up getting their contract at like 253, 254. So I know I can get there, but I'm running all that math inside by all the experience, running the numbers, figuring out the value of the property, the repairs. So that's a lot of the work on the back end. She actually didn't take the original cash number, right? She ended up needing a little bit more money, so we were able to come up until that, you know, max allowable offer that we had. But from there, it's also like, okay, how do I get this? I got it under contract. What do I do now? So having a transaction coordinator for us that pushes this through title, we get it to our dispo team that's going to find a buyer if we're going to assign it. Sometimes we just purchase it and we hold it as a rental property, or we can flip it, right? It really just depends on the deal, which we can kind of figure out once we meet with our team and, you know, see which might make the most sense for us. Do we want to wholesale this and get rid of it in 2 to 3 weeks? Do we want to buy it, put it back on the market? Or if we're going to take over their payments, which we didn't do here, then we would hold that as a rental property. All the things on the back end and getting it through the title company to actually close before the foreclosure is super important. It might be great to get a deal under contract, but this person's on a time crunch. They need to stop their foreclosure. So if you need help getting a deal across the finish line, make sure you partner with someone that has the experience so that you're not, you know, wasting their time and getting them to the end without being able to close the deal. So I immediately put her in a chat with our leasing agent. She said, hey, this is, you know, tell me what the bed bath budget that you're looking for, so now we can start to find an apartment that you can qualify for, you know, the cash that's coming in. But again, they're behind on payments. Sometimes their credit's not good, right? It's not going to be good if they're behind on payments. So trying to help them get into a spot where they can figure out relocation as soon as possible, and then working with someone to set up a move, you know, on the day of closing is typically what we're doing. We went through it a little bit quick as far as a foreclosure goes, walking them through all their options, making sure they understand, you know, what would need to be done to stay in the property, and then what this has to look like to sell, creating the urgency, assuming the close. If you guys want to see, again, how we calculate our offers, how I walk through a pre-foreclosure option script and everything A to Z for pre-foreclosures, make sure to join the free community in the description below, and we'll see you there.